Hello and welcome to this interaction which we are going to have to empower parents and their children who are in senior secondary school and hoping to be able to travel out of the country for excellent international education. This will last about an hour, and our desire is that you are going to participate actively, ask questions when the opportunity comes, but more importantly, avoid any distraction that will make you lose information, because this day will go into history as the day that your family discovered diamonds that would guarantee you financial independence and transport your children to a place that in the future you'll be thanking God for this 1 hour interaction you're going to have with us today. With those preliminary remarks, I would like to confirm that I am Dr. Peter Ogudoro, the leader of Nigerian Teachers Community. I will share my screen now to take you through some information that will empower you and your children. I'm hoping that both daddy and mommy are participating, and the teenager who is hoping to be able to go and study abroad is also participating. It's either you use different devices or you use maybe your laptops, so everybody is participating together and interacting, taking notes. And when the time comes, both the teenagers and the daddies and mommies in the room will have opportunity to ask questions and will provide the answers. So in a few seconds, I will share my screen, which will help us to ensure that you get all the information that you are in this interaction this hour for. Okay, so we are focusing on the power of international education. And in the course of this presentation, I will help you to understand where the inspiration to do what we're doing came from and provide clear ideas regarding how your child can prepare for excellent education abroad, especially in the United States of America and also in the United Kingdom. And some of you who are interested in Canada, you will also get to understand how you can actualize your dream. Those are three major destinations we're interested in, because most of you are Nigerians who are participating and other Africans who come from the Anglophone region. And I know that there's this bias in favor of countries that teach in English. But we will not fail to also provide the information on study destinations where English may not be the language everybody speaks in the street, but which all the same provides excellent education in English, especially in some selected universities and for selected courses in those countries. So we are not going to leave out those ones, so that at the end of the day, you make up your mind as to what you think works best for your family. So the inspiration for this came a few years ago, when I returned from England after I finished my doctoral program. And I came in with a lot of ideas on how we can help to move education forward in Africa. Unfortunately, governments on the continent didn't provide the opportunity for us to make that unique contribution to the development of our educational system. I hold a PhD in education. I studied at the University of Reading in England. I also had the opportunity to do fellowships in University of Cambridge, University of Sheffield, and had the privilege to also travel to several other countries around the world. I was in Norway on fellowship to learn from some aspects of education that empower very disadvantaged people within communities. I was also in Austria. I was at their Center for Innovation in Education, where I had the opportunity to pick up excellent ideas on how to promote innovation within the education system. I was equally in Sweden, and I've also been to Finland on research. And by the grace of God, I have had the opportunity to also establish the Nigerian teachers community, which today has over 750,000 teachers from over 100 countries. And what we do there is to create awareness regarding modern teaching techniques so that our children don't just go to school to learn how to pass exams. Because at the end of the day, the essence of education is not just to pass exams and collect certificates, which, as we know now, many young people who are finishing from universities across Africa are not coming out with skills that match the certificates that they possess. And we think that that is not supposed to continue. And I had my own children in the Nigerian education system when I came back from abroad, and I wasn't getting the kind of education that I desired for them, not only in terms of the quality with respect to skills and knowledge being provided to children. I was also very alarmed about the quality of governance in the education system, even at the secondary school level, where children are denied their rightful place, especially in terms of opportunities that their talents provide them the opportunity to access. And so when that became very obvious, I had to withdraw my children from the regular school system and hire teachers in the essential subjects that my children were interested in. The formal school system wasn't providing them enough opportunities to develop the kind of skills, talents, and gifts that God had given them. And the school system was imposing on them what they were not interested in and refusing to give them opportunities to learn what they are interested in. And so recognizing that that is not what I have seen the advanced societies I was coming from, I decided to take the bull by the horns, and I recruited good quality teachers in physics, in chemistry, in mathematics, in further mathematics, in English language, and other subjects like that. And so I trained those teachers because it also became obvious to me that it was difficult to find any teacher anywhere in Nigeria who had a combination of both technical competence and the capacity to teach well. Because the training we give teachers in Nigeria via faculties of education across our land is the teaching that tells them that they are the experts, the very knowledgeable people who are somehow omniscient, who stand in the classroom and just tell the children how the world works. They do not, by their training, believe that children sometimes can actually be more knowledgeable about the things they're teaching. And interestingly, that's where the world is now. But African teachers don't seem to have got there. So I decided to, since I wasn't going to be able to prevent them from continuing to treat my children the way I didn't want them to be treated and the children didn't want to be treated, what I did was to try and execute it to show example of how education should be done. So the teachers I recruited, I paid them much more than they could be paid in the regular school system graciously. And so if you see the young man in the middle here, where you have political, that's my first child. He was the first to benefit from what I decided to do. And so even though he wasn't getting the best that he was programmed to get, when he went to primary school, he finished as a head boy of his school. When he went to secondary school, he also became the head boy of his school. He ran campaign, he did well academically, and he is somebody who is into leadership. He campaigned, also got the position of the head boy of his school and the president of the students' parliament. But somehow we couldn't continue on that track. We had to take a different approach. And so what we did was, as I have already indicated, was to finish his education at home through homeschooling, recruiting good quality teachers, pay them better than they were receiving in the regular school system, and train them on how to teach. And within a record time, the training that used to take about 2 years, we finished it in about 6 months and got better quality results in terms of skills that the children acquire. And he went through that experience at home in the final days of his secondary school with his younger brother, Goswell, who is to my right here at the top. Now, Marvelous, through that excellent education, was able to acquire the kind of skills that he couldn't have acquired through the formal school system, and wrote a book to reflect his experiences through that kind of a platform that I provided. So he worked with excellent professors from around the world and presidents and top business people in America and several other countries around the world, and wrote a book which today is selling on Amazon. And one of the professors he worked with while he was writing that book for teenagers to empower them so that they can get clear vision early in life, so that they don't just waste their time using their devices to just watch photos on Instagram. One of these professors he worked with said, "You are a very gifted young man, and who would like you to come and study in the university where I teach as a professor in the United States of America." So he sent his name to the admissions office, and we did say we didn't have the kind of money it takes to study in the US, especially in that kind of university where school fees was significantly above our means. We didn't even have up to 5% of what the school charges. But the professor said he shouldn't worry, so that he could campaign for scholarship. And he sent his name to admissions office, and he started the journey. So they made him compete with several other young people from around the world. And so because of the type of education I had given him at home, using excellent teachers, he was able to excel, having also written English, international English language proficiency tests, TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language. He excelled in it. He did ACT, he excelled in it. And then they interviewed him via Zoom. He excelled in it, and they gave him a full ride. Full ride meaning they said he doesn't have to pay tuition, and he also doesn't have to pay for accommodation, and he doesn't have to pay for food. So as we speak, he has successfully completed his 4 years in that US university, and we didn't have to pay them to the school. They picked up all the bills, and they're very proud of him. He landed there and became a star from the very beginning of his journey in that university. That's Hope College in Michigan in the United States of America. And he finished in record time and moved on immediately to go and do his master's at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. He studied political science and philosophy. That's one interesting thing about US education. In Nigeria, once you are boxed into mechanical engineering, it's only mechanical engineering you're going to study until you finish. Or you do, let's say, political science, you combine it with nothing else. You do, if you're doing music, it's just music. But in the US, you can actually do trade. In his case, he chose to 50-50 in terms of attention paid to them. And as a result of the experience he has gathered in the course of his education, he has become very interested in using his education to make a difference back home in Nigeria. He's still in the US. Now he works for Politico, which is a giant media organization in the US. But while he was going through his undergraduate program, he had the opportunity to do internship at the Senate of the United States of America, and then he had the opportunity to visit the Supreme Court, do some learning there, and then made several visits to the White House. And as we speak today, you can see that he has ended up being somebody who is now invited by the #1 citizen of America, Biden. This Christmas season, he was among the few people across the world who were invited by Biden to visit the White House and have a good Christmas celebration with him. And the Vice President of the US, Kamala Harris, also invited him. And to the left at the top here, that's Kamala Harris, that's husband, and that's an associate director of events and in the vice president's office at the White House, who was there when this young man, who Nigeria almost wasted, now he's the toast of the most powerful country in the world. They invite him regularly to come over. So having seen him excel at this level, we also decided that his brother should have a similar education. So that's his brother there to the top of my right, Goswell, who now also secured scholarship to also go and study in the US. So as we speak, he's a junior. Junior means he's at 300 level, studying physics and philosophy. While he was in Nigeria, he almost lost interest in physics because the teachers weren't teaching physics and mathematics the way he wanted. But I pulled him out and finished that education at home, trained the teacher who worked on his physics and his mathematics. Today, he's somebody who has become a researcher in physics even before he's able to finish his undergraduate studies in physics. And so that's him there in his lab as an undergraduate. And when he's not having his regular lectures, he does some part-time work in the lab as a researcher. He's paid for it. And so even though he's on scholarship, they still pay him for the extra work he does in the lab to help his professors with their research work. And during summer, he works in the lab full time and he's paid for it. He earns good money. The money he earns in 2 hours is significantly higher than the salary of the average teacher in Nigeria in a whole month. And we think that the average Nigerian child deserves this kind of opportunity, which my children have received. It just, happened as researchers talk about serendipity. We didn't orchestrate it in a very deliberate way. It's just that we're looking for solution to a peculiar challenge. And this led it to the bottom of my left, where you have UIC staff for University of Illinois, Chicago. Was one of the teachers I hired to teach them at home. She's Folashade Idowu, Mrs. Folashade Idowu. She studied biochemistry. I trained her, and she worked with my children at home, teaching them chemistry and biology. And then several other teachers were also involved. So as one of the ways of rewarding her, apart from the salary I paid, I also said, I have seen you, you are smart, you are competent, you are diligent, and you're very focused. I think you also deserve to go out and have good quality education. So we worked together. As we speak now, she has done up to 3 years in the US at this university on full ride. Apart from the fact that she doesn't pay tuition, she also gets significant amount of money paid into her account every month that takes care of accommodation, feeding, and the money takes also care of the money she needs to move around. She lives in the US now with her husband and her child, and she is happy. She's very grateful for that opportunity and is making a great impact. And to the bottom of my right, that's Goswell, the younger child of mine, who also has had opportunity to go on visit to the White House. So all of these things wouldn't have happened if we didn't take that step to give these children the opportunity to go and express themselves fully using their gifts and their talents in ways that will benefit them, benefit their family, and benefit the world we live in. Today, they are doing excellent work across the world, inspiring their mates. And having gone through this experience with them, we decided that it shouldn't just end with our family. And so it was like we discovered Acres of Diamond. Some of you probably have read the book titled Acres of Diamond, where people sit on acres of diamond, but not recognizing that. In one of the tribes in our country, there is the common saying that what you're looking for in Sokoto is in your Sokoto trouser. And so we discovered that truly we don't have to pay through our nose to give our children good quality education. And so we didn't want to stop there. We said, let's expand the horizon and create opportunities for as many African children as possible to also benefit from this. And that's how we got to where we are. And now we are extending this privilege to several other young people, and we are going to do more in the future. So all these faces you're seeing here are now riding on the back of my children, and they are already in the US. Virtually everyone is on scholarship to my to the top of my left there, that lady is in Alabama A&M University, studying software engineering. The young man below her is also there studying mechanical engineering at Alabama A&M University. That's Jeremiah, who is in Fisk University in the US, studying computer science. This lady moved to the UK to also get into medical track. She is interested in operating in the health industry so that she can help to save lives. And that's Eniola, who is also now in the US. I tried her hands at the University of Lagos, but discovered that she wasn't getting what she wanted. And so her parents sent her to us, and she participated in the program, which I'm going to provide details of very shortly. And at the end of the day, secured good quality admission and scholarship to travel to the US. So she is now on the medical track, started with biomedical engineering, and she hopes to eventually finish as a specialist in one of the aspects of medicine. These two young people here, they are twins. Their mother discovered us via information provided her by a parent who was her friend, and these two young people studied at for undergraduate, for their high school. They were at White Sands School in Lagos here, and that's where they finished. And when they brought them to me, I interviewed them, and it became obvious to me that they are smart and doing well in the sciences. We also give them a similar opportunity. So today, both of them are studying polymer science and engineering in the United States of America. And you can see them, they're happy. Their parents are considering themselves very privileged. This is Mayoress Shobola, who preferred to move to the UK, where she's studying mechanical engineering. And prior to that, she tried to see if she could benefit from university education in Nigeria. University of Ilorin is a popular place where most parents in Nigeria want to send their children to. She was there, as well as the young man above her in this image. But both of them were at Ilorin trying to study mechanical engineering. But it was obvious to them that they were not getting the kind of education they wanted, especially in terms of practical engineering that will make them people who can solve practical engineering problems in Nigeria. So their parents also sent them to me, and also we mentored them, prepared them for relevant international exams, and they excelled and moved on. They are not the only ones. This young lady here has just left Nigeria. She's also now studying computer science. She experimented, tried her hands at one of the universities in Lagos, but also wasn't getting what she wanted, and she had to move. And that's Victory also tried to see if she could study psychology at the University of Lagos, wasn't getting what she wanted. The mom, who lives in the US, heard about us and sent her to us. We prepared her for relevant exams. She has ended up now in a US university, pursuing her dream. The young man to my left here, that's Ebube. He also is on the medical track. He wants to become a medical doctor eventually, but has started with nursing in the US. After his first degree, then he'll move into medicine proper. That's how it works in the US. It's unlike Nigeria, where you move straight into medical school from high school. And at the end of the day, we can see that the average Nigerian, young person who finishes in any school of any medical school here doesn't want to stay in Nigeria to practice. And many of them actually have regretted even starting the journey here, because at the end of the day, the kind of salary they earn after becoming medical doctors in Nigeria is not something that can even pay rent in the kind of accommodation they want to live in, not to talk about be able to get them a car and put food on the table for them and their family members. And that's Jeremiah, who is also in the US now, studying computer science. And these young people here above, who are in uniform, a good number of them were also part of this program. And what we do is, as we're preparing them for relevant international exams, we're also meeting other needs of admission officers in the US, because unfortunately for us in Nigeria, the only thing we dwell on is just to prepare children to pass WAEC, NECO, and JAMB. And we think that life begins and ends with acquiring a certificate, but that's not where the world is. In the US, if you're going to get admission into a good school and also secure general scholarship, you have to not only do well in your relevant exams, both internal and external, you also have to prove that you have held leadership positions and have been involved in rendering service to your community. So community service is great. You need to prove that you have a record in that area, helping widows, helping your mates, helping parents who are probably disabled, who can do things for themselves. You need to get involved one way or the other. Or we are hearing about climate change. What are you doing to help society to understand it? Are you helping your mates who are not good in the subjects where you excel? Maybe mathematics, physics, chemistry, to also become very proficient in those areas. All of those things matter. So it's not just you from beginning to the end. You need to get involved in serving your community and then play leadership roles. Some parents will say to their children when they say, I want to, enter for the competition to become head boy of my school or chapel prefect or assembly prefect or labor prefect. The parents say, no, I didn't send you to school to go and be head boy. Just pay attention to your studies. It doesn't work. If the child makes only A's, maybe in the entire 9 subjects, but hasn't played any leadership role, hasn't in any way served his or her community, it's difficult. The person can end up in what you might describe as a good school in Nigeria, maybe University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Calabar, Ibadan, Unilag, or Ahmadu Bello. But without the record to show with respect to leadership and community service, it's difficult for such a child to get into European countries or North America as in Canada and America, United States of America, to go and get good quality education, because those people are interested in people who learn, acquire knowledge and skills and the right values for the purpose of making a difference in their generation, not just working to earn money to just buy big cars and eventually become politicians and just get there and take only care of their pockets and the pockets of their family members. So these are things we need to pay attention to. These ones who are in uniform, they went through the program. We have now formalized it and we have expanded it to benefit even children beyond Nigeria. So it's now we are doing it on the platform of Rising African Scholars Program, and we have international partners. I was privileged to have studied at the University of Reading. Now we do joint programs to make sure that as many African children as possible have access to this. The business school of the University of Reading is also involved in the work we are doing now. And next year, through their outpost in South Africa, they will be in Nigeria working with us to empower our children and to ensure that they get opportunity to pass all relevant international exams, get good leadership experience, and then secure general scholarship to go and study in the US. So we have discovered Acres of Diamond, and we are trying to ensure that it goes round, because one of the reasons why parents are unwilling to try their hands on helping their children to go and study abroad is because they hear that indeed education in the US is expensive. Of course, on the average, you need about $50,000 a year. So in 4 years for undergraduate studies, you probably will be needing minimum of $200,000. The average Nigerian parent can't afford that. And for some schools, they can go as high as $70,000 in a session, meaning that in the 4 years, you'll be coughing out as much as $280,000. The average parent cannot afford that. But graciously, this education can be available very close to, free. Some children get full scholarships if they have done well in their high school and then excel in relevant exams, and they have also proven that they are leaders indeed, and they have contributed to making people in their communities happy. Such children can get what is called a full ride, meaning that they won't pay tuition and even accommodation and food. The university will provide all of that. And the reason why this is possible in the US is the fact that it's a rich country, and you know why it is rich. Google is from there, Facebook is from there, Microsoft is from there, Ford Motors is from there, Amazon is from there. All the organizations, that are richer than even countries, or most of them are in the US. Tesla now, the owner of Tesla, Elon Musk, has crossed the $400 billion mark. Our budget for this year as a country, you know what it is. It's not even up to 50 trillion. 50 trillion naira certainly is not even up to 30 billion dollars. Whereas Elon Musk alone, as an individual, now is worth over $400 billion. It means that if Africa were a country that somebody has to sell and he is interested, Elon Musk, in terms of the GDP of the entire continent, Elon Musk is richer than the entire African continent. And the reason why Elon Musk has been able to make it, even though he started from Africa, for those of you who probably didn't know, Elon Musk's roots is South Africa. And then when things got tough for him, he had to migrate. His mom moved the family to Canada, and then they tried their hands on Canada. They didn't get as much as they thought they deserved to get, and they moved to the US. And that's how it has happened. So Elon Musk may not be the only African child who will end up becoming the richest man in the world. So some of these children who are listening to us today, if they have the right aspiration and they take advantage of the information we're provided today, they might also end up becoming, even richer than Elon Musk, because there's nothing special about Elon Musk. It's just opportunity that came at the right time, and then the mom, found the courage to take the bull by the horns and made a difference in the life of the child. And today, the rest is history. So that's where we are in terms of opportunities. Those opportunities are there. Don't sit down and say, we don't have money. You don't have to have money for your children to get good quality education, around the world. My own parents couldn't give me more than high school education. By the time I finished my secondary school, my parents didn't have the means to send me to pay my school fees in the university, really. They wanted to try, but my mom died within a year of my finishing secondary school. Even though I passed JAMB exam to go to university to study law, I couldn't move on because my mom was supposed to work with my dad to make that happen. So I stayed on to work in NEPA, and then from there I decided to study by sandwich and then end a degree in education, guidance, and counseling and political science. I moved on from there to do a master's degree in business at ESUT Business School, and then saw that if I was going to make the kind of difference I wanted to make in the world, Nigeria wasn't going to provide me all that I needed. So I decided to travel abroad. So one way or the other, I was able to make it. I left NEPA because NEPA wasn't going to provide that kind of money. I went to entrepreneurship and started, running different kinds of things. And eventually, I traveled abroad, went to University of Reading, did another master's in communication for innovation and development, and that exposed me to the problems that afflict developing countries, and also gave me an insight into what the solutions could be. So when I was done with that, I decided to return to the same University of Reading, to take a PhD in education, which gave me huge platforms across the world, taking me to different countries. All of that, my parents didn't have to fund. A lot of it came by way of scholarships, fellowships. I was in Austria, I was in Norway, I was in Sweden, I was in Finland. I didn't pay a dime to go to those places. I was sponsored to go to those places. And those opportunities are still there for anybody who is willing to try. But before we talk about you children who are listening to us today, you the teenagers who are desirous of making a huge difference, as some of us are making today, as a result of the kind of education I have received abroad, I'm able to help teachers from over 100 countries, over 750,000 teachers are benefiting from the services that I render, and that education I provide them for free. They're learning how to teach properly so that we can train the next generation of people in Africa to be able to acquire the skills and knowledge and values they need to be able to make the kind of difference all of us desire. So if you want to study abroad, or even want to study in Nigeria, how do you make choice of career? How do you determine what you want to study? You have to consider your gifts, you have to consider your potential, you have to consider your personality. Who are you? What kind of things do you like to be involved in? So when it comes to that, we have a way of looking at different personalities. So you may be an artistic personality, in which case it means you like unconventional ways of looking at life. You don't like routines. You like creative work. So you might end up, in music. You might end up as a writer. You might end up, even doing comedy in the modern way, and you might end up as an artist, graphic artist. You might end up as a sculptor, and all of which are brilliant, professions. And when parents don't understand these things, they just think that their children shouldn't go and study things they do not understand. But people have become multimillionaires in dollar terms studying those kinds of things. And we know today that even in our own climb, people like Davido, Davido's dad, gave him all the support. Davido said it was music he wanted. That the dad had to equip Babcock University, with certain infrastructure to be able to ensure that his son studied what he wanted to study. Today, the rest is history, and we know that Davido has become a multimillionaire, doing what he likes to do. He's a university graduate, but it doesn't have to work in conventional settings. Now, if you are an enterprising person, it means you like to be in charge. You're such a person, you don't want to finish university and go and get into paid employment, Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Education, where people will be telling you what to do all the time. You like to run your own show, so such people may end up as entrepreneurs. No matter what you study, you will like to be in charge. If you study engineering, you want to set up an engineering firm. If you study communication, you would like to set up an advertising agency, you like to set up a publications agency. You want to, if you study agric engineering, agric science, whatever, you want to set up a farm and be in charge, call the shots, employ other people, and help them to earn good money, but you want to be the person running the show. So if your personality is such that you don't like to be people, to push you around, you want to be the one to design systems, conceptualize businesses, and mobilize resources, and put people, together in teams and supervise them, inspire them, empower them, and ensure that they're doing the right things. Then you're an enterprising person, and that should be reflecting the kind of course you want to study in the university. If you're a social personality, it means that you like to work in places where you are going to meet other people. You may not want like a laboratory work. Biochemistry may not be the kind of thing you want to do, because microbiology may not be the kind of thing you want to do, because those are kind of the specialties that might box you into a lab where you are researching and doing things alone. You want to work with people every day of your life as much as possible. So such people, if you are such a person, you may want to study marketing. You may want to study public relations. You may want to study communication at any level. You may study nursing. In some sense, you may also want to do medicine. Any profession that gives you the opportunity to be in contact with people on a regular basis and make a difference, impacting on people, and being in environments where you laugh, where you are happy, where you crack jokes while you are doing a very important job. That's the kind of place you like to be in. If you are a conventional personality, you like order, you like routines, you like things to be done in certain ways. You may end up as an accountant, you may end up as a computer scientist, you like details, you want order. If you are a realistic personality, you would like to work with your hands. You may end up in any of the engineering fields. You don't just want to blow the grammar, without having to touch the things that give the grammar life, as we would say in Nigeria. So if you are a realistic person, you like to dismantle things, you probably may be considering, any aspect of engineering, robotics. You may want to do civil, you may want to do electrical, electronic engineering. If you're interested in computer, it may not be computer science where you are working with, designing, software systems. You probably may want to design the gadget that houses what computer science is great for you. And then if you're an intellectual, it means you like to think in abstract. You like to work with ideas. Such people may end up at the pulpit as pastors. They may end up in classrooms as teachers, as university professors. They may end up in the law courts as lawyers. So if that's the case, you also may end up as a researcher, a lawyer, who a researcher, a writer who just sits down and you come up with ideas and you put them together and you argue persuasively to convince the rest of the world as to why certain things should be done in certain ways. Now, that's I hope you have been able to pick up where you belong as a teenager, as a young person growing up. But you may be asking the question, is it possible to belong to more than one class with respect to the personality topology that I have just described? The answer is yes. But most of the time, one will dominate. So it may be largely an enterprising person, maybe about 70% of that. And then you may also be 30% social. So you can go and study maybe mass communication, public relations, any other aspect of communication. But when you finish, you want to launch your own business. That's how it works. Yeah, and then still looking at what you have to study. Consider your other achievements. It's not only academics that we should be discussing when we are making choice of career. Look at everything you have accomplished, the difference you have made in your family, in the lives of other people, in school where you have studied. Who have you impacted on? Have you been part of competitions where you represented your school at quiz competitions, at debates, or coupling things, maybe scientific endeavors where you have been part of a group that designed and launched a project that has helped your school to solve problem of water. Maybe the water you people have been drinking via the borehole in your school is not good enough, for human consumption. But you have come up with an idea on how to purify it. That's an accomplishment. And then you have to consider what you care about, not just what you're interested in. A lot of the time, you may be interested in something, but you may not care enough about it. What are those things you complain about in society? You worry about politicians, they're not doing well. My children have things they care about. For example, the first one cares about how politicians behave. He thinks that politicians should be largely altruistic. You should do something else that brings you money, and then when you go into public space to serve, you shouldn't be dipping your hands into public treasury and wasting the resources that are meant to take care of ordinary people. So now he has studied political science and he's very interested in coming back to Africa to help to sanitize our political system. He cares about that. His younger brother cares about the quality of thinking that people, manifest. He thinks that there's so much of superstition in Africa. He has seen people around him while he was in Nigeria, worry a lot about different kinds of ideas where people say, if you use hot water to wash your hands, you will lose money. And then when you wake up in the morning and your leg hits the leg of the bed, it means it's going to be a bad day. Those kinds of things. But with his background in science, it says that there's no scientific basis for those kinds of assumptions. And so he is in school learning physics and mathematics and hoping to be able to use what is gathering to help people learn to stop thinking in superstitious ways so that they can do much more for themselves and for society. You have to look at your ability. What can you do that other people may not be able to do? When you're making choice of career, aim at coming out in it for yourself. Don't just do what every other person is doing and earning the grade every other person is earning. If you just finished university, studying what every other person has studied, earning the kind of grade every other person has earned. And when I say grade, even when it's first class, so many people are graduating from universities these days with first class, especially if they have attended private universities in Nigeria or some other parts of the world. So first class is no longer something that distinguishes you. So many people have it as we speak, and many of those people don't even have jobs, especially if they finish from engineering fields. And those who are lucky, they end up as teachers in classroom teaching physics and mathematics. That's not what they went to university to do. So distinguish yourself, come out to niche for yourself. What are your abilities? What's your IQ? Some disciplines are more demanding in terms of IQ than others. If your IQ is below 100, you may not want to go too much into hard sciences like physics, mathematics, chemistry. If it takes you a while before you can understand what other people are saying, you may not want to give yourself too much of a challenge. Then look at opportunities available. We're providing opportunity to you this evening. And so some of the courses that you would like to study that are not offered in Nigeria. Now we are going to give you the opportunity to discover them and go abroad to study them. Here in Nigeria, we are studying only conventional courses, so just engineering, business administration, accountancy, medicine, pharmacy, and a few others. And the average Nigerian child is not even ending up securing admission into the course that he really wants to study. A particular young man was talking with me yesterday, and he did say he was at the University of Port Harcourt recently to write post-UTME. He wanted medicine, and he discovered when he arrived at the University of Port Harcourt for his post-UTME that about 6,000 of them, were shortlisted to come and write the test for only medicine, and the university will not take more than 200. So at the end of the day, over 90% of them have been asked to go and pick up other courses that they didn't bargain for. So they now have to go and do chemistry, biochemistry, microbiology. So you find a child spending 4 years studying what he didn't bargain for. But abroad, once you're doing well in physics and mathematics, you can secure admission to go and study what you are interested in. That which, after you have studied it, you can use it to make a difference in the world we live in today, rather than just sitting down there, and doing what university professors have asked you to study. And as I did mention earlier, in the US, you can study 3 courses, simultaneously. So that you are doing engineering does not mean you cannot take on a social science course. So you find people doing engineering and entrepreneurship. You find people doing nursing and music. So if there's a part of you that likes enjoyment, likes to be happy and play the guitar, American universities under what they call liberal arts education provide you that opportunity. So you can become a civil engineer as well as a musician simultaneously, because God didn't necessarily create us in a way that pigeonholes us into just one thing. Some of us can preach at the pulpit, can also fix electrical problems, and probably do a few other things. So in the US, you can do as much as you have talents for. And then you have to look at also the need to find support, financial support for what you want. So is there funding for what you want? For both those of you who are privileged to be participating in this event at this hour, yes, the answer is yes. If you are very good in what you're doing well in, especially in the sciences, which are the areas we're interested in, we want to produce more engineers, we want to produce more medical doctors, we want to produce competent scientists in chemistry, in microbiology, in physics, in mathematics, areas of need for Africa and for the rest of the world. And sometimes young people go into medicine because nobody has explained to them that that thing that is driving them into medicine, which is to save life. If you truly want to save life, it may not necessarily be medicine. You actually can save more lives by studying microbiology and earning a PhD in it within the same time it takes to study medicine and get only a first degree. You get a PhD in microbiology, you can work with your colleagues within the scientific community to come up with a vaccine that can deal with the problem of malaria, or come up with an insecticide that we can apply in the air, and mosquitoes are gone in Africa, really. And when you do that, you'll be saving millions of lives, as a matter of fact, annually in Africa. Whereas the average medical doctor in a lifetime may not be able to serve even up to 30,000 people in an entire lifetime. But if you study up to PhD in biochemistry or chemistry or any of the biological sciences, including microbiology, you can pay attention. In 4 years, you get a first degree. Just use 1 year to get a master's, and use about 3 years to study to get a PhD. In 8 years, which is not significantly higher than the number of years it takes to study medicine and get only a first degree in MBBS, you would have become somebody that the whole world would be interested in. Everywhere you go to in the world, you are needed, and no medical doctor, no matter where the person studied, can compete with you and beat you in terms of opportunities and the impact you can make in the world. So we need to get young people to understand this so that we don't box them into corners that limit how much they can achieve. Now that we have looked at what to consider when you're making choice of career, we also have to look at where should you study. yes, for the average person listening to me at this hour, you probably will be considering studying either at home or abroad. At home means Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, South Africa. And then you have to look at what are the pros and cons of studying at home. What are also the pros and cons of going abroad? Yeah, so looking at studying at home, what are the pros? The pros means, yes, everything remains the same. There are no uncertainties. You are in the comfort, you are in your comfort zone. Your parents see you every day, and they can be absolutely sure that mosquito is not biting you. Even if it's biting you, you all will work together to ensure you're taken to hospital. And so they continue to monitor you. But I know that every teenager doesn't even like that idea. By the time they are finishing high school, they want to move away from home, and they want to go and explore. But if you are truly afraid of leaving home, maybe staying back in Nigeria is the right idea for you. But the downside will be access to the kind of course you want to study. If you want medicine, you may not get it. If you want engineering, unless you're very good, electrical, electronic engineering, computer science, you may not get it, especially when you're at your young UTME the first time. Really. Now, even if you do get it, we also have to now grapple with the quality of education people are getting in our country. We know that that quality is not great as we speak. I did give examples of some young people who have helped to get out of the country, go to UK, go to Canada, and go to the United States of America to study the same courses they started studying here, mechanical engineering, psychology, medicine. As they got abroad, after only 1 week of spending time in the universities abroad, they discovered that the difference is very clear. And so if you want to do it abroad, there are different countries around the world you can consider: Canada, UK, Europe, United States of America. All of these places are possibilities for you. But again, the particular country you want to go to, you will determine it by way of looking at the cost implications and availability of scholarships in those kinds of places, and how generous they are in terms of accommodating you. In the UK, if you finish your master's, you can stay up to 2 years. If you finish a PhD, I think it's 1 year. If you finish a PhD, you can spend up to 3 years. And then if you want to stay on, and you have a sponsor, yes, you can stay on if that's the country you prefer to go to. I studied in the UK myself. My children are studying in the USA. In the US, if you finish your first degree, you have opportunity to automatically, take a whole year to look for a job. But if you finish in a STEM area, you can get up to 3 years to stay and work under what they call OPT. And then if you are very smart, you can get direct admission to go and do PhD, or you do master before you go and do PhD, really. But in the US, it's a possibility. If you finish with the first class, on a scale of 4, if you're doing up to 4.5, and you are very good in the discipline you have studied, there are a lot of universities that are happy to welcome you to start your PhD journey. It will take you about 5 years, but after 2 years, even if you don't want to continue on that journey, they give you a master's, you exit from there. But if you want to spend another 3 years, you get your PhD. Those opportunities are there. So there is that flexibility. And when you live here, you want to go to a US university to study mechanical engineering, you can get there and discover other things that are of more interest to you. They give you opportunity to change. Nigeria doesn't permit that. Once you get into study something, that's it. You are locked in for 4 years. But in the US, you can change your mind even after 2 years and still graduate within 4 years. That opportunity is there. And so look at all of those things. But more fundamentally, especially for those of you who are aiming at the sciences, the critical factor will be studying in a place where you can do practicals from day one and meet people from an international community. If you study in Nigeria, in any of the universities, virtually everybody you're studying with, I'm seeing every day, is a fellow Nigerian, which is not completely a bad idea. But there are downsides to that. You need if you want to work for multinational corporations, they prefer those who have studied and worked and functioned in international environments where they know the true meaning of diversity. They are more accommodating of people from other countries. In a typical UK university, you will find students from as many as 100 countries, around the world. The University of Reading, where I studied, I was on the same campus with students from about 150 countries, and that made a huge difference. I made friends from all over the world, and when I desired to go to Finland, for example, it was the network that I started while I was at the University of Reading in England that made it possible for me to go to Finland and do research that is helping over 750,000 teachers from over 100 countries around the world. So if I didn't study in the UK, that access would not be there. And this is Goswell to my bottom left here. That's in his lab. He's at 300 level now, but from year one, almost from the first semester, I started working in the lab. So it's hands-on, and there are only 5 in the class. In Nigeria, sometimes you find people, studying, physics, and they are 200. But in his own lab, at his own level, first year, in the entire physics department, there are no more than 20 across all the 4 levels. First year, second, third, and fourth. For his own level, just about 5 of them, and they have all these professors focusing attention on them and working with them in the lab. That's Otito, who also traveled out close to 3 years ago with his twins, and you see him operating at international conferences from his university. This last summer, he and his brother ended up doing internship at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, the best engineering school in the world. If they didn't take the risk and find the inspiration which graciously we provided them to leave Nigeria, they will sit down here and be grappling with all the challenges that are associated with this country. This about the center here, where you have some Caucasians and they have the black girl in the middle sitting. That's Ololua, who also graciously, the parents heard about this opportunity and they brought her here, and we prepared her for the opportunity. She traveled out this last August, and from day one, the training is hands-on. She's studying business administration, and they don't just sit down, put them in the classroom and be giving them lectures where you have 500 students sitting down and listening to the same lecturer. Just a few of them, and the training is practical. She's studying business, and they use different kinds of tools to demonstrate what happens in a business environment. And they bring in banks, they bring in manufacturing, systems. They bring in accountants to come and interact with them. So it's not just the regular lecturers who are talking to them every day. So studying abroad gives you that advantage, but the downside is it takes money. Not every parent can afford it. But from what you have heard us say so far, if you are very good in the sciences, you are doing well in mathematics above average. If you are below average, it won't work. If you're doing well in the sciences, doing well in math, doing well in English, we will prepare you for the relevant exams, and then you go abroad and you shine when you get there. And of course, we have to look at some technical jargons when it comes to funding your education. So you hear about scholarship, and scholarship simply means somebody gives you money to help you go to school, and it's not loan that you have to pay back. And that is very common in US universities. It's also common in British universities. So depending on what you want to study and where you want to go to. Now, we also can talk about need aware. We can talk about need-based, with merit-based grant, etc. Now, some universities in the US, for example, are need blind, so they don't worry about whether your parents have money or not when they are admitting you to come and study there. The first question they ask is, do you have the technical ability, the competence, the intellectual capacity to benefit from the education they give in this university? If the answer is yes, they give you admission before they now open the file to see if your parents can afford it. If you prove through bank statements, through your parents' paycheck, and pay slips, that your parents don't earn a significant amount of money, and most Nigerians really don't earn a lot of money, especially in today where everybody's talking about hunger, they will let you come and study absolutely for free. There are such universities. Harvard does it, MIT does it, Yale does it, Stanford does it. Several other universities across the US are doing that, and meaning that they will pick up all your bills. Food is free, accommodation is free, tuition is free, and they will even buy you books, everything available for free. So that opportunity is there. So the onus is on you to work hard and excel in your internal exams do well when you write relevant international exams that we're going to discuss, very shortly. Some people get grants, especially at postgraduate level, to do masters and do PhD. Some people get stipends, meaning some universities allow you to study absolutely for tuition is free, and then they pay some money into your account every month, which you use to pay for your accommodation and also use for your transport and to buy food to eat. Now, those who are not lucky to get fully funded programs or not even getting any scholarship at all, or getting some level of scholarship but still have some money to provide the university that is where they are studying, they can take a loan. In the US, Empower is there, but this getting a loan is much easier when you have already entered the US, you have finished your undergraduate program. For your master's, while you're in the US, you can borrow money to do your master's, you can borrow money to do your PhD. But trying to get a loan to do undergraduate program when you have not visited the US before or you don't live in the US is generally difficult because they have no reason to trust that somebody who has no history. It's difficult for them to track people who are not in their country or who are not living anywhere in Europe or other countries in North America. So that's a challenge. But once you get into the US, you are captured within the system. They can then, give you loan, which you pay when you pay back when you start working. And some universities also give you money for your living expenses. So all of those are things you need to recognize as possibilities. What exams can you write to ensure you get these scholarships? You need to do well in your internal exams. You need, meaning that do well in your SSC, NECO, and WAEC. Do well even in your termly exams, first term, second term, third term, and all the exams you have written internally, right from the time you started secondary school, JS1 to SS3, everything will matter because you will need to send a transcript that compiles your performance over a period of 6 years. Then you will combine that with international credentials you will obtain. JAM UTME is not a credential in the context of what we're discussing, and that's for people who want to study in Nigeria. But if you want to study abroad, your SSCE and then your transcript from your school will be the ones that will matter. If you want to study in England, you will need GCE A level, which you can spend a year or two to earn, depending on how hardworking you are. In the UK, undergraduate program generally lasts about 3 years because people first go and spend 2 years to get their GCE level. Then you get in there, spend 3 years to get a degree. In the US, the average undergraduate program lasts 4 years because you can move straight into university from high school. But for you to secure a good, the kind of course you want and get into the kind of schools you want to study in, you would probably need to do SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test, do SAT, do IELTS, or TOEFL. TOEFL and IELTS are alternatives, but parents who have money will encourage them to help their children prepare for both exams, just in case one doesn't go very well, then the one that has done better, they will use that. But if both of them go well, better for you. The more credentials to present, the more generous scholarships you can earn. As I did some post probably at the beginning, it's very possible for a child to get scholarship that is worth as much as close to half a billion over a period of 4 years. So if you spend some money to put your child through exams that will not cost you even more than 2 million, and they are making a profit of about 400 million, we think it's good investment. So make that sacrifice now. When I went to school in England, at some point it was difficult for me to pick up my bills. As I did say earlier, my parents were not in a position to sponsor me. I picked up my bills. So I had to sell a property, a landed property that I had. I was using it to save money. If I make money, I used to buy land. If I make money, I used to buy land. So when I needed to finish my studies and things changed in Nigeria, I couldn't get cash. I had to sell it and move all the money to the UK to finish my education. Today, I have no regrets. I won't be talking to you now if I didn't take that risk and make that investment. So these exams, you need to write them. The next question is, how do you navigate your way to get those international credentials? So we have started a platform which African children are now using to get into the US, get into UK, get into Canada, called Rising African Scholars Program. And that's for very competent teenagers who are in high school. If you are currently in SS2 or SS3, yes, you can join us in August of next year. it takes us some time to screen, recruit, and train children to come into the classroom and spend 1 full month with us. So you would have finished your school certificate exam. That training will start on the 4th of August and end on the 30th of August. But prior to that time, we are going to work with you for the next 7 months before you come and join us in Ikeja on full-time basis after your school certificate exam while you're on holidays. And so between now and that time, what will we be doing? We're bringing 4 professionals from America to join us on the 5th day of March. So no matter where you're studying, you need to make provision for that, start negotiating with your school to release you to join us in Ikeja in Lagos. It's a 1-day event, full day. You'll be joining us to welcome some Americans, American professionals, young people like you who have finished their university education. They're working and they want to share some experiences with you and help you to know how to get into universities in their country and also secure these good scholarships that we talked about. And of course, my son, who has finished his master's in management science and who now works in the US and is happy to help African children. He is also the one facilitating it, actually. And the lady who I showed you, who was in that picture, with him and Kamala Harris, she's currently Associate Director of Events. She has volunteered to also join us in Nigeria, along with several other, a good number of other, American young people to come and volunteer to invest in your own life. So a few of you will get that benefit when they come in March. After March, you continue with your school. And when I say after March, it's just 1 day in March. So it's not the whole of March you're in school. Just come out 1 day to experience them. And then in August, you come and spend 1 full month with us to learn what you will need to pass all your international exams and then do well, get opportunities to lead, get opportunities for community service. All of that we do for young people who are coming in here. And we are doing this in collaboration with our international partners, University of Reading, where I did my doctoral program, where I earned my PhD, is contributing to this project. This last October, we were at Queen's College. The people, the photo to the top, where you see people seated, children standing, and then counselors and school leaders at Queen's College and Federal Government College, Janiki, the counselors in those places. It was a hall full. To my left, you can see the lady who with the Henley Business School, Nigerian children. So together, we're at Queen's College to do that. We got other children to join us from several other schools, and their school counselors were there. So we are currently helping school counselors to develop the capacity to be able to start this journey with their children early, because unfortunately, because of lack of capacity in Nigerian universities, most counselors who finish from Nigerian universities do not get this awareness and don't have the skills, don't know what to do. So children finish, they may earn good grades, but they end up studying maybe in local private universities and thinking that's the best until they finish and start seeking employment, and they now discover that things are much harder than they envisaged. So we are doing all this together to empower Nigerian children, to empower African children, and we think that is a very important contribution that needs to be made, and we don't have to wait for somebody else to make that. Now, the program is meant for teenagers who are very purposeful, who are willing, to be extraordinary. And when they come, we help them to develop clear vision and then understand the meaning of, meaning of process, meaning of outcomes. One of the reasons why most people are not doing well in Africa is the fact that we over worry about outcomes. So we want to study abroad, but we are not doing the first thing. The first thing is do well in your school exams, write international exams, SAT, TOEFL, IELTS, and don't listen to people who will tell you, you can make it without getting writing IELTS, without writing TOEFL. Yes, that's possible. If you have the money, to pay all the school fees, you probably don't need to write an exam. But if you want to get it for free, then you have to get what other people do not have. Because if the university is recruiting like 5,000 students in a year, they may not give that scholarship to more than about 500. So if you want to be, one of the 20% of the people who are going to benefit, then you have to come in with something that the average child getting into those universities, do not have. So the domino effect to come in. That's what you see to the bottom right here. Do the first thing. Once you get that first thing done right, like going through this program successfully, and we are going to work with you if you are lucky to be selected from now till August of 2026. The people who are coming to the class in August and who will also join us in March when the Americans come will be writing their SAT and TOEFL and IELTS as from October. They will write in September, write in October. Those who have any delays as a result of constraints or circumstances beyond their control, they have to write in the first week in December. All applications must be completed by mid-December so that you can get in for good quality scholarships and be able to travel out of the country in August of 2026. So that's the timeline. And the question is, what will I be doing when I finish my school certificate exam about July, August of 2025? This is the next step. You do it and then take a gap year. We suppose other things you can do. But if your parents insist, yes, you can go and start a program in a university in Nigeria, whether private or public, while you are also processing this. And then once all the processes are completed, then you travel out of the country to go and have the kind of experience that will empower you to make a difference. How much does it cost me? Over this period of 2 years, we will work with you. We have about 50% of the spaces available have already been taken up by parents who came to the event we did last week physically. Virtually everyone who was there found the experience a very privileged one. And so they have taken up about 50% of the spaces we have. So the people who are participating today, we are doing this because we don't want you to eventually come and say, because we don't live in Lagos, that's why people are not letting our children benefit from this. Yeah, so it's a 2-year journey. Beginning now, we have already started training them. Those who were here last week, we have started sharing materials online, and they're already, doing their reading assignments and watching the videos that will prepare them for the journey, abroad. So if your child is selected, if you approach it after this evening's presentation, then and we are convinced that the child can cope, then we give you a slot. The training fee is only 750,000. For the entire, 2-year journey, we are going to work with your child, but you register your child for the exams. We don't get involved in the exam because the child registering for the exams on the internet is part of the training and the experience the child needs to get. So you pay for the exams online with your child so that you don't have to go through any agent. We don't want you to lose money because everything on those websites are written in English. So you don't need to start looking for consultants to do anything for you. But for you to make sure everything works seamlessly, if your child doesn't have an international passport, there'll be need for the child to process international passport as soon as possible before we get to the point where those exams will be entered for, because American and British bodies that conduct those exams will ask for identity that is basically your international passport. They don't seem to trust other ways of identifying yourself. So 750,000, which you can pay in installment. But those who pay fully before the end of February, they pay only 700,000. They get a discount of 50,000. And but the fee will increase as from 1st of March. Other things being equal, it will be adding up to 200,000 because it's a journey of 2 years and it's very cost intensive. We are bringing people from around the world to come and work with you. And then the accommodation is top notch. It's very conducive environment. So this things cost money. And but we are lucky. My children are investing in this by way of donating money to make sure that other children benefit from what has enabled them to get to where they are. And we have several other young people who have benefited from what we're doing who are also assisting us. So that's why the money is at that level. And but if you have paid up to half of the 750 before we get to end of February, even when the fee increases, you will just have the balance of the 750 to pay. But if you haven't done up to half of half of 750 by the time we get to 1st of March. If the fee increases, we'll consider you as somebody who is just registered, for the first time. So that's what it's like in terms of cost and the timelines. At this point, I would like to take some questions. But before we go into questions, in case you're not very familiar with the telephone number you can use to reach me, that's the telephone number there. You pick it up now, but I assume that anybody who is participating in this event already knows my phone number. I'm Dr. Peter Ogudoro. I'm very privileged to be the one who founded Nigerian Teachers Community, which today has over 3/4 of a million teachers from over 100 countries. I take calls in the evening between 7 and 9 p.m. From parents who want to understand these things better or who want to ask for any help that they think I'm in a position to render. So we work with world-class tutors to prepare your child for this amazing journey so that the child doesn't sit down here and waste away. Most of the young people who have finished in engineering schools in Nigeria are not practicing engineering. The best they are doing these days is to teach mathematics in secondary schools. That's not what you want for your child. If you study in better climes, your child will truly look back and thank you for the opportunity to get onto the platform that you have provided. And I think is an honorable thing to do for a child. So at this point, I will pause and stop sharing my screen and take questions from you if you have got questions. And try and ask your questions very quickly. We'll take about 2 or 3. All right. Surprise, can you enable Ruth Okenini to ask a question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you so much. So my question is, the amount, the 750.
Yes.
Does it includes the exams?
No,
I just want to...
No, it's the cost of the training. It's the cost. It will cover the child to interact with Americans when they come in March. It will cover the one month full-time training in August. It will cover a cost of preparing your child for visa, cost of preparing your child for essays when the child is doing application to go to US, and then reviewing the essays, preparing the child for interview, and working with the child till August of next year when the child travels out. That's what the fee covers. I've already talked about that you register your child for the exams. Those exams are available online, and you don't need to go through anyone. You just make the payment using your card from your home. We don't encourage people to try to use agents to do anything.
Okay. And you guys are going to prepare them for those exams too?
That's what they're coming to us in August to do. That's the August experience focuses on preparing them for SAT, for IELTS, for TOEFL, and for how to write essays. Yes, that's what once the child gets on this platform, the child doesn't need to look elsewhere for help regarding the journey.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah, so a question somebody may be happy to ask will be, so when should you when should a child get on this journey? The journey is on, so the child should register before the end of this year. Latest, that would be like, today is 29, so 2 more days, 31st, that's the latest for the child to. You can make a deposit, you don't have to pay the whole money. If you like, you can visit the office, you can make deposit, just make payment to the bank. After this presentation, I will share the group link where parents whose children are already undergoing the training as a result of the experience they had last week. I'll share the link on the parenting conference platform so that you can join that platform once you have made up your mind to give your child this empowerment. So once you get there, by tomorrow morning at the latest, I will share the relevant documents, forms to fill, the full brochure for the program, and the links to websites, and probably confirm anything else that the child needs to know about. But your child you need to book a space for your child before the end of the year so that we can know that if your child is, if we leave a space for your child, it won't be wasted. All right. Any other question? The chat box. Okay, so can you, what is the question in the chat box? Thank you, sir. I'm watching with my children aged 10, 12, and 16. Yeah, the one we can help immediately is the one who is 16 years old. Yeah, so that one can enroll. And the ones who are 10 and 12, if you are happy to visit my office in Ikeja in Lagos, we can design their career so that they start early to prepare. And because sometimes when the child is getting to 16, 17, it starts getting late because they wouldn't have done much in terms of leadership and community service. So bring your children once they have entered secondary school, bring them. Let's help them to know what to do as they're moving forward. The journey of 2 years, will they be accommodated in the location or they will be coming from home? We don't do accommodation. If you are outside Lagos, the training hall is in Adeni Jones in Ikeja. So parents bring their children here. Those who are outside Lagos, they look for their relatives who live in coterminous towns in Lagos like Ojota, Oshodi, Agege, any of those towns on Ikorodu Road, like Ketu, what are those? Onipan, Yaba. They're all places children can come from. And we also know there are parents who bring their children from as far as Lekki on a daily basis. It's a 1 month experience. 6 days, Monday to Saturday, for 4 times, and that gives you a full experience. So that's what we recommend that you do. But the average Nigerian has a relative in Lagos, one way or the other. So we encourage you to use that opportunity and don't argue against what you want to accomplish. Say, I don't want my relatives to have anything to do with it. No, your child has to learn how to live in places that he has not lived in before. Because when he goes to America, he won't be living with you. So let him start experiencing it now. So that would be our recommendation. But if perchance you are not the typical Nigerian and your child has to look for accommodation in Ikeja, yes, we can get involved in that search. So if you are like 6 children from parents who want to just do it on their own, yes, we can locate an Airbnb accommodation within Adeni Jones. They are bound. You just the children will just cook for themselves if they choose to, and we also have people who can supervise that. But generally, that's not what we recommend. It's only when it becomes a last resort that we ask parents to move in that direction. Can children already in the university participate? The answer is yes, provided the child is not more than 19 years old. Yes. If the child is above 19, it may get tricky because Americans don't expect that when you are 20 years old, you will just be starting university education, especially if you're not an American. If you're an American and you're 50 years old and you want to go to university, no problem. But if you're coming from outside and you're above 20 for undergraduate program, it's a problem. But if you're coming for master's or PhD, even if you're 40, 50, that's not a problem. Yeah. Yeah, so, okay. What of students in the boarding house? Yeah, students in the boarding house, it has nothing to do. We are not pulling your children out of school now. Anything your child is doing with us now is we just send materials to you online because your child is on holidays now. You download it. It's a task that the child will complete in only 3 days. So if the child gets the task latest tomorrow morning, by the 2nd of January, the child has finished. It's just a reading task, and they prepare PowerPoint slides for us. And then the next time we see a child will be on the 5th of March. We don't need your child to come to us every day. It's 5th of March because we are bringing in Americans who will interact with them and inspire them. After just 1 day, they return to school. And the next time we see the child will be in August, 4th of August. And the child will work with us every day until 30th of August. So being in the boarding house does not in any way prevent the child from benefiting from the program. In fact, in some sense, it's an advantage because the child will be able to maybe concentrate. That doesn't necessarily mean that If you're not in the boarding house, you cannot concentrate. It depends on where. My children are still in JS1, but I would like them to benefit from this program. At what class can I enroll them? Well, we generally like children to come to us when they are in SS2, but bring your children to me. I will give the counseling for free, even now that they are in junior secondary school, so that they know what to do to ensure that we get the kind of background that will make them save money for you when they are aspiring to go to the university in the US, because this is fantastic, opportunity and experience. They get excellent education, and if they have done well in school, play leadership roles, done community service, they can get the education absolutely for free and saving the family as much as, in some cases, up to $500 million. And these are possibilities. So that's the smart thing to do. Don't procrastinate. I thought about domino effect, and social scientists have what they call hyperbolic, discounting, where parents just focus on my child to study in America, but they are not doing anything about it today. So if you want your child to study in America, go traveling out in August of 2026, don't worry about that August of 2026. Just do the first thing today. For those in junior secondary school, bring them to me. The counseling is free in Adeni Jones. We need about 30 minutes to 1 hour. If it's a family of 2 or 3, maybe 2 hours, and you won't be charged a dime. But if the child is already in SS1, in SS2 or SS3, the child can come on the program right now. Whatever is the deficiency, we can help the child to make it up. But the child shouldn't register if the child is afraid of mathematics. The people who work with are those who are comfortable, learning mathematics as well as English language. What of someone who has gotten 50% scholarship in USA for August 2025 and still expecting for scholarship, as well as gotten admission in a Nigerian university to study a good course? Well, the question is, what's the definition of a good course? If you haven't traveled out of the country, you may not be able to define what a good course is accurately. So what is the benefit of this program? The benefit is the possibility that if you're happy, if you're under 18, you probably don't need to travel out now, because if you say you got 50% scholarship, 50% scholarship will mean, from my experience, that you still have to cough out as much as $20,000 dollars every year for a period of 4 years. And that means you'll be looking for close to $100,000. The average Nigerian parent cannot conveniently cough out that. So if you maybe register in the Nigerian university and in August, you enroll for this program now and go trade, then you can travel out in August of 2026. And if you have done well in secondary school, you have earned on a scale of 5 in terms of your GPA, you have done like 4.5, 4.8. It means you are a good candidate to get very generous scholarships, in the US. So you can get much more than you have got. This 50, when we say 50% scholarship, I hope it's not 50% of your tuition. If it's 50% of your tuition, that's not really generous because you still have to pay the other 50% of your tuition and then also cover money for your living expenses. So that will be shooting the cost to a level that you cannot handle. So it doesn't make sense. You'll be putting your parents through avoidable stress, especially in an economy which Nigeria has today that is very constraining for parents. So be very careful what you're doing. But if there's anything you don't understand about it, my counseling service is free. I've done this for a period of about 40 years. Every time I talk to parents in my counseling clinic in Ikeja, I don't charge a dime. So bring your parents, come along with them. There's no condition attached to it. I will help you to unpack everything so that we can work with you to determine what will be the next line of action. Okay. All right. Currently, good evening, everyone. Currently, I'm in SS1 and I joined the class in September. Yes, the last class we did, we had a child who just finished SS1 and joined the class and has even written a SAT already and met the benchmark for both English language and mathematics, but has returned to continue with SS2 while aspiring to travel out. So we don't encourage you to travel out before you're 16, but it's a good experience to have now if your parents can afford to make the investment. Because if you experience it now, even if you don't earn the kind of grade those who are in SS3 will earn, is good training for you. When eventually you get into SS2, SS3, if you write the exam, you will now be earning like, 1,580, which programs you for a school like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, and MIT. So that's the smart thing to do. All right, so I think we have attended to most of the questions. I will drop the link for you to join the group where the parents whose children are already in the program. I will drop it on the parenting conference, which I think gave you the opportunity to get to us this evening. So in the absence of any other question, this is where we have to thank you for finding time to join us, and hoping that you don't behave like the average parent in Africa who will just sit down there and say, our God will do it, and they are not doing anything about it. The bishops here, virtually all the general overseers that you can remember who are very prominent, they all train their children abroad. Adeboye trained his children in England. Bishop Oyedepo trained his children in America. Tunde Bakari trained his children in America. Chris Okote himself and the wife, they went to America to even do theology. Chris Oyakilome, he didn't train his children in Nigeria. His children, I think he has two. They trained in the UK. So every bishop that matters, while they are praying for Nigeria, they're taking precaution. They're training their children abroad. And the people who run your country, almost without exception, including the people running the major public education agencies, they too are training their children abroad, even as they try to compel the teachers here to be wasting time on preparing lesson notes for their children. So they know that what Nigeria is offering, virtually at every level, is not the kind of education they want for their children. So they're sending them there and asking you to pray, but as they are praying, they're taking precautions by sending their children abroad. So be wise. Don't sit down here and waste your child's time. More is happening abroad. When I got to England after 1 week, I looked back, checking out my undergraduate program in Nigeria, as well as the first master's I did before I traveled out to do another master's and then do a PhD. If you spend just 7 days in the UK or in America, you weep for Nigeria. You'll be wondering what people are spending 7 years in university trying to do. It's cutting-edge education in get in those places, and the pay is much better when you study in those kinds of places. Even if you choose to come back to Nigeria to work, generally, employers don't ask you to write aptitude tests. They take you straight to, interviews. That's how it works. So on that note, we wish you and your family well, and hope that when we start interacting with you in physical spaces, you'll get more inspiration to do more for yourself, your family, and society. Thank you very much.